Hey everyone, I was doubting whether I should make this video honestly, because relationships are such a vast and huge topic that it's very unlikely that in this video I'm going to say the thing that changes your life. And that is a very high standard to have, that I have to say things that change your life, I know. But I'm always like, well, relationships are so nuanced and there's so many different kinds of relationships that it's almost impossible to give advice online about it and it really means something so it can really land. But when I think about how I've changed myself and how I've changed my relationships for the better, I realize that it is usually through videos like this that I want to record for you, through videos where someone shares some of their own experience, some general wisdom, some things I've seen as a tarot reader, reading for relationships, some things that the tarot can tell us about tarot, that tarot can tell us about tarot, that tarot can tell us about love and about relationships. And all of these things combined, hopefully, put something in your brain that helps you figure out what is it that I need, what is it that I can change about myself, about my relationship, or whatever it may be. So I love videos that don't try to be the be all end all of this is the advice everyone needs, but videos instead that give you inspiration, that give you something like a little spark that helps you then take that further, and then you take that spark and you maybe journal, you do an own tarot reading for yourself, you just think about it and just let it jump around in your brain box while you're sleeping, all of these things, and all of that helps you evolve. And that is what I'm trying to do with this video, not tell you what you have to do or need to do, or that these solutions will fix everything. Now, that means that the best way that you can approach this video is with curiosity. So curiosity to find out what is it that you might be missing in your relationship, what is it that you might need to work on within yourself. Curiosity, what calls to you, and when you make space for that little voice inside of you, what could contribute to your satisfaction in relationships, because tarot has so many lessons for us, some encouraging, some discouraging, some very unclear, some very clear. And I really just want to give you something that gives you new perspectives, and all of that will be about you and about your growth and your empowerment, not in the sense of, does he love me? How can I make him love me? Is she still into me? Is she going to call me soon? Are they going to come back to me? Etc., etc. These are not the questions that I think are helpful when it comes to relationship satisfaction and the depth that tarot can offer us. So all of these approaches that I will talk about in this video are meant to contribute to building a healthy, long-term relationship with open communication, with deep trust, with an harmonious everyday life. That is the lens that I'm coming from. There's a billion other lenses through which you can look at relationships, but that is the one that I have the most experience within the past 18 years of being in different relationships, and now being in the happiest relationship I've ever been in and probably will stay in until, I die or whatever happens. I don't know what else would happen other than me dying, me ascending to the heavens. I'm kidding. So yes, that is the lens that I'm coming from. And of course, also as a tarot reader who has read for people who need advice about their relationships or are looking for more satisfaction as well. So yes, nothing in this video is meant to be taken as this is literally what you have to do and this is what is going on for you. Just like with tarot readings, you have to sort of take what resonates with you, because this is a collective experience. This isn't, as I said, the be-all, end-all advice that you definitely need. You need to look at your own psyche, your own soul, your own essence, and see what is missing and how can I recover that treasure within my relationship or within myself, really. Yeah, so that's the process that we're going to go through. So this video is definitely a process that I will guide you through. It's a little bit practical, but also a little bit theoretical. You will see what happens. And it is meant for you to, find something in this video that touches you, where you're like, yeah, I'll take that to my journal. I'll take that to my little brain that I lie on the couch and just think about things and stare at the ceiling. I'll take that to my tarot deck and do a reading about it. Or I'll take that to my partner and talk to them about it. All of that is absolutely possible. And also, if you're just here to learn a little bit about tarot for love, you're also in the right place. I will give some examples of the cards, some examples of what these energies could represent. So I'm really excited for that. I have my very classic Rider-Waite-Smith, which I rarely show in my videos, but we're going to use it today. All right, so before we start, there's 2 more disclaimers I need to make. I told you, relationships are very nuanced, so I feel like it's very important when we talk about relationships online to be nuanced about it and not be like, oh, this is what you have to do. So first of all, I want to make it clear that this video is for people who experience mild dissatisfaction with their relationship or even heavier dissatisfaction, but the things I'm talking about are not for situations of literal abuse, but just for situations where you're maybe feeling like something's a little bit lost in your relationship. You just want to explore, what could it be that I'm missing? These kinds of situations, not necessarily light situations. Satisfaction is one of the factors that goes into deciding, do I stay in a relationship or do I leave? But I just want to make it clear that it's not for really dire situations like abuse or assuming that you have a partner who doesn't really care about you. Because a lot of this advice, and this is the second disclaimer, is going to be about putting the power back into your hands and looking at what you can do to improve the relationship instead of, wondering or rummaging about how you could change your partner. A lot of this is about changing yourself, growing in the relationship, growing because the relationship is a mirror for you to grow through. Now, does that mean you're always the problem? No, it doesn't mean that. That's not what I mean to say with this video. But sometimes it can be empowering to look at, where can I change my behavior to maybe change this dynamic without having to try to force and change the other person. It just means it's not your fault. You're not the problem. It means that you have more agency than you might think. You have more agency over your own behavior. You have more control over your perspectives on things than you think. And that is exactly what we want to tackle in this video. So does that mean you stay in a relationship and you totally change yourself to fit the relationship or the other person? No, of course not. I want to make that very clear. For this to work, the basics of compatibility have to be there. Like, your partner cares about you. You are in a committed relationship where it is clear that you are committed to building something together. Whether that is monogamous or non-monogamous doesn't matter in these circumstances, but it does matter that you are the priority of your partner and your partner is your priority as well. Their well-being is important to you and your well-being is important to them. That is the basis for any of this to work and for you to even start looking at, where is it that maybe I am able to change my behavior and better the relationship. So these things are a given, that you have each other's best interests at heart. If that is not present, then you probably cannot build a long-term relationship, because that is the very basis of relating to another person in a relationship. All right. So we're going to be looking at it from both perspectives. We're going to look at it how other people are your mirrors and you might have to learn something from what triggers you about other people. But also, what do I realistically need from my partner? Where do I need my partner to change really? And how do I figure out what that is and how I get it? Those are the two perspectives that we're going to be looking at it from. But enough disclaimers. Let's start. I will put timestamps below, so if something really doesn't resonate with you, you could skip to the next topic. But honestly, sometimes things that we think don't resonate actually do. And there's treasure buried in places that maybe you wouldn't think it's there. So maybe don't skip too quickly. So we'll start with a little practice, actually. So after all of this yapping that I have just done, because the goal and the intention of this video is to help you figure out some of the dissatisfaction you might have, we need to find some access to that place within you that isn't your conscious mind. And I don't want this to be a huge thing. It's just a small, let's close our eyes for 2 minutes sort of deal and just go along with it. Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing a little bit to calm yourself down and to really leave behind your conscious mind a little bit and call in that deeper knowing, call in that intuition that we want to work with. And when you've stepped out of your conscious mind and into your intuitive mind and your heart, and you're listening to your heart, you're located in your chest. You're not located in your head where thoughts might be racing. You're located in your chest with your heart. I'm just going to read out some things that you might need from your partner, and you can see how your intuition reacts, how your heart reacts to that. What are you actually needing more of from your partner? Is it affectionate words? Clearer communication about the future and plans you might have? Do you need more security? Or do you need more independence and alone time? Do you need more quality time with your partner? Do you need help with household duties that you might feel left alone with? Do you want more activities with your partner, more hobbies together? Do you just want more initiative from your partner to plan dates or to come to you and initiate? Do you want more yapping like with a friend, with your partner? Do you want to play more games together, board games or video games? Do you need more intimacy? Do you need more cuddling and kisses? Do you need more curiosity from your partner? Maybe asking more about your day or how you are. Do you need more getting to know each other again instead of assuming that you know each other? Do you need more protection from them? Do you need to feel more safe, or do you need to feel more free? Or do you need to feel more heard? So whichever ones I said that sort of spoke to you, you could write those down now. You can open your eyes again, you can breathe again. And if you want, you can stop the video because we're going into a more theoretical part now. I will talk about some lessons from the cards, from the tarot cards, that often come up in relationship readings. So as you are coming back from this little intuitive connection thingy and you're more connected to that knowing within you, you could take a break if you want. Write down some things that came up as I was speaking. And when you're ready, we will continue. I will take a sip of coffee though. Stay hydrated. Okay, the first sort of problem that I want to speak about in relationships is when you're feeling like your partner isn't putting in as much effort as you would like them to, or as much effort as they put in at the beginning of the relationship. They maybe feel sort of distant from you. And a card that could represent that is the Two of Cups reversed. It could also be the Lovers reversed, because the Two of Cups is all about doing things with love, you know? And doing a relationship with love means that you attribute time to the person. It means something different to everyone. It could mean that they bring you little presents. It could mean that they give you loving words of affirmation that you need to hear. All of that is contained within the Two of Cups upright. And when it's reversed, it could feel like that effort isn't there. The relationship isn't being approached with as much love. And then maybe the Two of Swords could come up as well. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in relationships, that usually things aren't so black and white. If you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, I would want my partner to put in more effort, it is definitely worthwhile to first think about what exactly do you need from the other person? And is that something that actually you wish you would give yourself? Because sometimes, let me just give you an example, when you have this strong need to feel heard by someone else, sometimes for me, that's just the child inside of me or my heart saying like, listen to me. You are supposed to listen to me. I know you're trying to get someone else to listen to us, but actually what I need is you to sit down and listen to your heart and sit with emotions, you know? As I said, that's not to say you shouldn't expect your partner to do that. You understand the nuance of this, I hope. You know, sometimes you need more self-focus. That's what the Two of Swords is all about as well. More alone time. And for me personally, because I have experienced emotional neglect in the past, I used to fill that hole with a partner, and I would react very intensely to anything that I perceived as my partner putting in less effort than before, or less effort than I generally expect. That doesn't mean I'm lowering my expectations, but it means that I'm reflecting how much of those expectations are fair to my partner and how much of those expectations really come from my own wounds of emotional neglect, of wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, wanting someone to spend time with me, you know. And instead of, you know, whenever those feelings come up, you immediately go and you're immediately like, hey, I feel left alone. You're not putting in as much effort. It can be worth it to, before you confront your partner, to first think, where is this coming from? Where is this need actually coming from? And is it something that my inner child is calling for to get from me? And I'm not hearing it, and instead saying my partner needs to provide this to me now? Very possible. Now, as a word of caution, obviously, we're not going to gaslight ourselves into thinking, oh, we have to satisfy all of our needs on our own. That's not what a relationship is for. It's fully valid to go to a partner and say, I feel alone. Please put more effort into the relationship. Please plan more dates. Please spend more time with me. All of those things are entirely valid. And I want to make that clear. What I'm saying is, just look at yourself as well and where those needs might be coming from what wounds they might be coming from. And number 2, you know, even when you have a fulfilled everyday life, you still feel like, whoa, my voice, the coffee is getting to me. Even when you have a fulfilled everyday life and you still feel like your partner isn't doing as much as they could be, the question is, when I need something from someone, have I literally asked them, and why haven't I? This is a very important second thing that I see often in relationships, this attitude of, I want them to figure it out on their own. So we could maybe have the Eight of Swords associated with that. You know, the person being bound very loosely, they could free themselves, but instead they're like, no, 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 I'm here to suffer. And then maybe the Page of Cups reversed as well. A lack of emotional honesty, a lack of emotional openness. So with these two cards combined, it's like you're trying to suppress an emotion that you are meant to feel, and you're trying to avoid communicating it to the other person. And if you are doing that on the basis of, I want them to figure that out on their own because that's my standards, that can be valid. But a lot of the time it's helpful to question that and to just openly go to someone and say, this is my expectation. I wish you would fulfill it. It hasn't happened in a while, etc., etc. So you don't have to do this even in a way that is threatening. You know, you could go and say, hey, how you're acting somehow in my head is becoming this idea that you are becoming more distant. It's giving me this idea that I'm feeling alone, especially if you are an anxious attachment type that maybe is working on becoming secure. You will still need to require a lot of that reassurance from your partner, and that is totally valid. So that is the second thing. There's a sort of a boundary of how far we can go just thinking about our own needs and our own trauma, our own neglect that we experienced. And then on the second side, you know, beyond that border, that boundary, we have to go into clear and open communication about, this is how I feel. I am stressed about this because of XYZ. It could just be me, but I feel like I need more safety from you, or I need more time from you. I need more whatever it is from you, and make me feel less alone, you know? So that could be an approach that you could take as well. As I said, these are very like sort of just the things that came to me intuitively as I was typing all of this up. This isn't going to encompass the whole idea of relationships. Okay, the third thing is very interesting to me because I've struggled with that for a very long time. And by now I've pretty much resolved it. But I know that a lot of, especially women, to be honest, in relationships, struggle with that. Let me tell you. You know that feeling when your partner is stuck in life and you feel like you keep evolving and there's this fear that you will grow past them, and you're trying to sort of take them along. You're trying to make them more ambitious. You see their potential. Maybe you make suggestions. You encourage them to do things. You try to support them into doing things maybe that they wouldn't do without you. And it just never lands. You know, they never really do it. You're trying to encourage them, but they're in your perspective behind their potential, whereas you are evolving, you are really actively trying to get out of stagnation. And that is a very difficult dynamic to be stuck in, which is why we're going to hydrate for a second here. And with the tarot, it could look like something like this. Maybe for your own energy, we have the Empress or the Emperor, or we could have the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is always a huge pointer to me that someone is trying to lead someone else. Someone is trying to make the path easier for someone else and trying to be like, come along, I'll show you the way. Whereas maybe the cards for your partner could be the Seven of Pentacles. It could be the Ace of Cups reversed. It could be any of the pages reversed. I just have the Page of Swords reversed in this case. So sort of cards of inaction, of waiting, of stagnation. And this is a very important thing to talk about because I feel like we have this pattern where we focus on our partners and their growth a lot. And I say this with love. We need to focus on ourselves more, and that will resolve a lot of issues. And this is also something that comes with codependency a lot, because with codependency, you feel responsible for your partner's feelings, you feel responsible for your partner's growth, for your partner's evolution, and that is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your life and, of course, also the relationship. The relationship is a priority, but it's not your priority to try and coach or bully or do therapy on someone to get them to do something. That is not a task that should be included in a healthy relationship. And you might feel like the other person is forcing you to do it with their inaction, but they're really not. It's you deciding that you're making the other person and their life a priority. And the best way to make a partner who truly cares about you grow is to lead by example, to focus on yourself, to give them space to evolve, to detach from their life a little bit. And I know, especially if you are an anxious attachment type, this could feel a little bit dangerous. It could feel like, well, if I detach from their life, we will lose each other. I will grow so much and they won't. And you have this need to control it. But instead of watching like a hawk, how they spend their day, whether they are reaching their goals, what they are doing with their time, focus on your own work. Focus on your own creativity, focus on your own social life, focus on whatever you want to focus on. Bring that energy to the relationship, that energy of I am growing and taking care of myself, rather than looking down on your partner, trying to coach your partner, trying to, always make them be someone they're not or not yet. So, yeah, give them time, give them a little bit of space. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If they still stagnate, if they still don't grow, you can still make a decision. But you're never going to be able to force someone to grow if you are watching them like a hawk and trying to control everything that they do. And that is a very difficult dynamic to live with because it takes focus away from you, it takes power away from you. And you could also reflect on whether there's unspoken rules in your relationship of what you're doing together. For example, you always eat breakfast together every day, or you always watch TV together after work or in the evening every day. And maybe those things need to be softened as well. Maybe it would be good to watch TV on your own, to watch your own TV shows, instead of having to watch something both people like. Maybe you want to make breakfast just for yourself instead of your partner making breakfast for both of you and you having to eat together, And that's not something to be scared of, to question those unspoken rules in relationships that might give you more space. It doesn't mean separation. It doesn't mean you'll break up. It just means you'll have more time to focus on yourself and grow within yourself. And that's also not about being avoidant, because sometimes, we overthink things and we're like, well, if I do that, I'm just avoiding the issue in our relationship, when really it's just a pattern where your partner might be stuck or your partner might be stagnating and you don't have the capacity to live with that. You could also see it like that, because we all have times in life where we feel a little bit slower. Things are evolving slower. We need more time. We need more rest. So don't hassle your partner about how much they sleep, whether they work out, how much they work or not, Of course, if this continues over a long period of time, you notice maybe there is depression involved, that's a whole different question. But if your partner like has their life under control and doesn't need your help with it, they don't need your help with it. You don't have to try to make them be something huge and realize all their potential. You can also just stay with yourself and lead by example, as I said, because that changes a lot as well. Because very often, I talk about the whole mirror thing, and at the end of the day, sometimes maybe you are struggling with being stagnant yourself, but you externalize it to your partner and project that issue onto them. You could be struggling with something and completely externalize that and be like, my partner is struggling with this, even though you should be taking care of that within yourself. Our brains do that. Our minds do that. So when you have a huge issue with your partner about something, about how they lead their lives or whatever, think about how, if you said those things that you say to your partner, to yourself, how would that feel? Is there something inside of you that you need to work on? Are those words that you need to hear yourself? Or is it your own inner critic that's telling you, no, you cannot rest, you have to work, but you externalize that onto your partner? Because that shit happens too, and we need to be aware of it. Okay, hydration break. I feel like the coffee is making my voice all sticky. Also, I just started offering love readings as well in my shop. So if you want one of those, I don't always open my books, but right now they are open for tarot readings. If you want a personalized love reading, relationship reading, and you feel like you're not really getting ahead with just reflecting on your own, you can head over there. I'm also going to do a video for my YouTube members and my patrons about doing a tarot reading with your partner, what questions you could ask each other, and that will also be a fun thing that I'm recording. So if you want that, you could join my YouTube members or my Patreon, and you will get access to that. All right. So another thing that I want to transition into now, the fourth thing, is to kind of identify the season that your relationship is in. This is going to be another little bit of active thinking, because I will read out some periods that your relationship could be in, and you could reflect for yourself, and maybe even reflect with your partner or tell them to reflect about it, where your relationship is at, and kind of compare notes. Because, one person could be saying, our relationship is doing great, and the other is like, no, it's stagnating. So let's think about the different phases. I will read them out to you, and you can see how it relates with your heart, with your intuition. You can close your eyes if you want, ride along, whatever you feel like. So here's some different stages you could be in. There's falling in love, obviously, the honeymoon phase of getting to know each other, being so in love. Another phase would be rebuilding the relationship after an outside event that shook the relationship or required a lot from both of you. Something like a family emergency or someone losing their job, an outside event that is shaking the dynamics, and now you are trying to rebuild the relationship. You could also be in a period of rebuilding after an internal conflict in the relationship or some breach of trust, such as cheating. I would call that an internal conflict more than an outside occurrence. So rebuilding a relationship after that. You could be just in transition from one phase to the next, like not quite the honeymoon phase anymore, but also not the stable everyday life where every day is kind of the same. Or maybe you're transitioning from moving in with each other to separating again and saying, hey, we want different apartments again. Or maybe you lived separately before and now you're moving in together. All of those would be transition periods that can happen. where you need some patience to see what the relationship will look like on the other side of that transition. Maybe you move to a new city together. Maybe someone has a new job and you have to transition your relationship into a new dynamic. Then we have stagnation, like both people are kind of just living their lives. The relationship is feeling like it's not really more than the sum of its parts. It's really just two people existing, but not really building anything together. The relationship is just, it's there. Then we have satisfaction, which is kind of like stagnation, except you're happy and you're satisfied with the relationship the way it is, and everything is just good and fine. No big changes are happening. You could also be in a phase of rediscovering each other. Often this needs to happen like every 2 to 3 years, because those are the points where you realize maybe, oh, we don't feel as connected. Who is this person? How have they changed? Just re-encountering, rediscovering each other and being open to what that might look like and how that could change the relationship if you get to know each other anew. Then we have periods of actively building and calling in change. That would be like topics like putting bank accounts together, trying to have a baby, starting a business together, something that makes the relationship more than the sum of its parts, taking a mortgage together if that's something you want to do. That is like building something that requires both people to be there. That is what I mean by building on top of the relationship, essentially. And then lastly, there's a period of dissatisfaction or even a period of separation where you feel like you're emotionally disconnecting more and more. And maybe in a few months, you'll feel totally disconnected. You feel like it's maybe going towards a separation if nothing changes. So as I read all of these out, you might have an idea of where your relationship is amongst all of these different phases that you could be in. And then the fifth thing is to give yourself clarity about where you are, but also where you want to be with the relationship. So if you are maybe in a period of stagnation, maybe you want to enter into a period of rediscovering each other. If you are in a period of transition, maybe that is fine how it is and you just need some more patience. Maybe if you are in a period of falling in love and you're still in the honeymoon phase, you feel like, okay, I need some more time to myself. We need to find like an everyday life that is a little bit more you, me, and sometimes you and me together, and not all the time you and me together. And, getting clear on how you want your relationship to change and what you want it to look like. Or maybe you are in a period of rebuilding after an outside event shook your relationship. And now you feel like, okay, we've rebuilt our lives, our routines. I want to go back to actively building new things on top of the relationship. Like taking the next step of, I don't know, moving in together or moving out of each other's apartments or whatever step you want to take, So think about that. Where is your relationship at and where do you want it to be? And when you have that clarity, it's really about being honest with yourself, what you can do to bring in that new phase, that new thing that you want to happen. Whether that's just a small need or a really big different phase that you want to be in, a different relationship era, being clear on what you can do and how you can communicate that to your partner in a loving way, and what do you expect of your partner for them to do and what would help you if they did, And that is something that you can take to yourself, to your own intuition, to your own heart, which is partly what we did just now. And then you take it to your partner once you figured these things out and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. This is how I want it to be. Let's work on it together. How can we do that? It all feels so big. Like talking about this feels like I could talk about this for 10 more hours and I would still not really have captured what the experience of being in a relationship is like and how nuanced and complex all of this is. But I hope that this lit something up in you, in your brain, and you're able to step into a little bit of a different perspective, maybe step through a little portal into a little bit of a new tweaked reality. And I'd be really happy to do a personal reading for you if you want. My shop link is down below as well. And I will see you in the YouTube members video, in the Patreon videos that I make, maybe, or in the next YouTube video. Subscribe if you like this. Take a look at everything else I have to offer. It would mean a lot to me. And I'm happy you're here. Okay, I will film the YouTube members video now, where it's all about reading tarot with your partner and figuring this out with your partner right beside you. I'm excited. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.